No, this is the normal fiber. We call it the tower top fiber tester. We have a JDSU tester that does optical loss and a whole bunch of other stuff we really don't ever get into. So this is our main unit here. So on this, the best way to do this is just go ahead and put it around your neck. That way when you're in tower, you can still be hands-free and still be able to work on everything.
Right.
And we have a little microscope attachment that I always try and leave that knot in there actually.
Okay.
Because we've had people in the past drop the scope and that knot will save it from falling all the way to the ground.
Gotcha. Does it matter which one of these USB ports
So on the side here, it doesn't matter which, as long as you go into one of the standard USB ports, it doesn't matter. Cool. Now we can turn the unit on, holding down the green power button. So on the main screen here, when we have our scope plugged in, we'll have our three options: power meter, inspect, and inspect. Once we unplug our scope, it takes away our third option. So the power meter we don't use too often. The power meter will check our received light levels of our SFPs. The inspect button here is actually for this microscope up here, but with the duplex fiber, say that are duplex together like that, you can't fit it in there because it's too wide.
Gotcha.
So we, again, never really use that one whatsoever. It's just the scope on the back there. So we can go ahead and click our inspect button. And most of these should have a little stylus also hiding out here.
Oh, okay.
Make it easier. So before we get anything started, we want to set up a folder to save all our scopes in. So if we click the button in the center, it'll pull up some options. We want to go to More, and then we want to go to Image Save Options. And then we want to go to Fiber ID Base. So this will auto-populate a base ID, so we're not sitting there typing out the site name and sector and all that stuff every single time we save something. So if you go ahead and click on that, now we can delete all this out. This was from a previous site. And you gotta click it every time. The keyboard isn't the greatest on this, but so just like the sweep gear, we want to narrow it down to what site we're at right now. So this is Harmony 1, so we'll type in Harmony 1.
No space or anything?
We can just do Harmony for now, because we only have a certain amount of spaces to make it. So we'll do Harmony _. So we know what site we're at. We want to figure out, and we'll narrow it down to what sector we're on. So we'll do beta sector.
You want to spell it out or just B?
We'll just do B for beta. Okay. And then we want to narrow it down to what frequency we're working on, which is 700, so we'll just put a 7. And then an _. And then right now we're going to be cleaning fiber at the BBU, so that'll just be BBU. _. And that's it. So we know we're at Harmony, we know we're working on beta 700, and we're saving scopes at our BBU. So then you can hit OK. So now every time we go to save, that's already populated, and we just have to do a little bit more naming for what side the fiber and all that stuff. Yep, okay. Exactly. So you can hit the back arrow till we get to a black screen. So now we're on our basically scope image. So now on the side here, or in the accessory case, we'll have a bulkhead. And just like yesterday when we talked about, there's a couple different tips we can use to scope our fiber. This would be a scope tip for sliding directly over the fiber like we did yesterday. Mm-hmm. Or we can use the bulkhead and slide our tester in one side, and then our fiber will be on this side. And that's a lot easier because we'd have to change out tips to do the SFP. So we want to look at beta 700. So to remove that, there's a little thumb tab there. You just grab it like that, press down on the thumb tab, and then pull it straight out. And then we'll take our bulkhead and slide it over the fiber. That way it's protected and we don't have to worry about it getting scratched. And then it's easier for us to scope it because we're not worried about scratching it with our scope.
Right.
So now on the back here, we can pull out our scope. It's a nice little pocket for it. There's a couple buttons on here. The small gray one is the screen capture and test. The big, or the long brown gray bar is the zoom in, zoom out. And then the silver wheel is on both sides, and that's our focus. And you just turn that back and forth to focus the image.
Okay.
So what we want to do on all these, they are labeled our A side and B side. So we'll start out with our A side first. So go ahead and slide your scope in on the A side. And now that's our image of our fiber. So you can use that wheel, and on the left side, there should be a little blue bar. You want to get that blue bar as high as you can, and then click the small gray button. And that'll capture the image and test it for us.
And are you trying to make, like, get a good clear view of that dot, how that is?
The overall, the best focus overall.
Okay.
And we might actually have to turn the RRH off because that white light in the center there, that's our actual fiber optic light coming down from the RRH. So sometimes the unit thinks that's a spot on there and it's going to fail it. So right in there, I'd take the picture. So now it's going to take a picture of that and grade it for us and give us a pass-fail on all the sections. So zone A is the very most center where the red is right now. Mm-hmm. B is the gray portion, which is the outer cladding of the fiber. C is the next circle out, and then D is all the way out around it. Okay. So right now it thinks that that light coming down from the RH is actually a piece of dirt on there or some kind of debris. So what we'll have to do is turn off the RRH and that dot will go away. So now we got the breaker turned off in the cabinet, so we shouldn't see any transmit light down from the RRH. So we'll re-scope A side. So now on our screen here, we have our lights completely gone. And so you can actually, we can show the zoom in, zoom out. If you hit the big button, it'll zoom in. And I think that's 400 times zoom. If you zoom out, it's 300 or 200 times zoom. So I always just look at the closer picture. Yeah.
You can move this around a little bit. It's really lining up in the center, correct?
Yeah. You don't have to. Sometimes it's hard to on the tower when you're moving around and swinging. Yeah. As long as it's mostly in the center, it's okay. You'll still get a good picture of it. So we'll grade it again, and we should get a pass now just by looking at it, which we do. So it went through and looked at all the zones. Everything is all clean. We can hit the zoom out and then make sure there's no big dust particulates we missed, because that could potentially fall in the way of the fiber when we go to plug it in. Okay. So all that looks great. So we'll go ahead and save this now. Hit the little floppy disk there. So there's our populated naming scheme already. That way we don't have to type all that stuff in.
Right.
So if we delete out that -001, we will do F for fiber and then A for the A side. And that's simple as it gets.
Okay.
And then now we'll do our B side.
So just hit back to get that out of there?
Yep, or you can hit the live button either way.
Okay.
So now we got a whole bunch of dust on there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even, we can test it just as an example, but seeing that amount of dust right in here on the fiber or around the outer cladding and over the center fiber, then I would just go ahead and clean it right now. We can test it though if you want, just to see what it does. Should highlight all the dust in red. So that's all of our junk on the way. So to clean this, I should have mentioned this earlier, but mainly what we deal with is LC, LC, I remember the L for little connector. So these are little fiber connectors. It's LC, and then it's duplex, so there's 2 fibers. Our A is our receive here, and then B is our transmit, and that correlates with our SFP. We have an arrow in and an arrow out, so transmit, receive. When we line these up, our A side is our receive and our B side is our transmit. So slide that back in there. So these are LC little connectors. So on our cleaning pens, we should have one that's labeled LC. And to clean just the fiber by itself, if we had no bulkhead on place, we just use this single tip like this, and that's just opening up the cap, and that's how we do fiber by itself. If we want to go through the bulkhead or clean an SFP, we would just slide this off. So now to clean this, we just insert this in here, do 2 clicks, and when it does that, this little stick comes out with a piece of string on it. It rotates and wipes the front of that fiber off for us. And it's always a good habit to put caps back on to keep dust from getting in there. And there's a little window here to show us how much thread we have left on our bobbin in there. So now that we clicked it twice, we can re-scope it and see if we got it clean. So right off the bat, it got way better. There's still a big dust chunk right in the corner there, but we can click it again and try and get rid of all that stuff. So I'll do that. I normally do 2 clicks. If we get into a scenario where we end up doing 10 or 15 clicks on one side, then we need to start doing our wet wipes. It's most likely the dust is embedded on the face of that fiber. So it got a lot better again. We still have a little bit of residual there, but we'll test it and see if it passes or gives us a marginal. Because again, our main concern, like we previously saw where the white center dot was, that's where our actual fiber is. The gray is our cladding, and then the white around the gray is our outer cladding. So it still failed with that dust right there. So we can try 2 more clicks, and if that doesn't work, then we'll get the wet wipes out and give it a good scrub. So it's still saying we have a couple blue specks, but we don't have anything right in our center fiber where the white circle is right there. That's where our actual fiber optic cable is. The gray is our cladding, and then the whiter stuff is also our cladding. So this would be okay. You can definitely get away with that. So we'll save this guy. So now that we got our fiber cleaned, we'll check out our SFP card. To get those out, there's a little blue handle here. This blue handle folds down, and sometimes they're spring loaded. Handle pulls down, and then you just pull it straight out. Yeah. Yep, so that's why we use the square tip and do the bulkhead on this, because if we did the round fiber tip, we'd have to change tips on the tower, and it's a giant pain, and they're small and really expensive. So most SFPs will see the same exact image, a fiber image just like that. Some SFPs will have it looks like a microchip, and you can almost see lettering on it. Those we can't do anything with. We'll just take a picture of it and save it as is. We can't grade it. I'll see if I can find an example of that. So that might have been a little hiccup on the scopes part. We can do a quick click on it or retest it real quick. And this is why it's so important to have the fiber cleaned. It's when we make the fiber connection, the fiber tips are spring loaded, and when we make the connection with the fiber tips, they'll actually press against each other, and that dust, even though it's so small, will get embedded in the fiber, the cladding, and you'll never get it off of there. Still failed. So we will try one more cleaning technique on the SFP card. So we should have alcohol bottles and all this stuff. Most of the caps don't work, so we end up taking the cap off. You just take your fingernail and kind of pour a little bit of alcohol in there. You know what we want to do on the inside there, you can see the fiber hole that our fiber optic slides into. We'll slide this tip right in there, and with a little bit of pressure, we'll press down on it and spin it back and forth. Do that a couple times, and now we can retest it.
That was the other side.
Was it? Okay, we'll do both sides just to be sure then. Most likely we'll have to do a clicky pen on this again because there'll be alcohol residue
On it.
left over, but we'll see that in the scope. So we'll check it first. So there's actually some alcohol in there. You can see that dust moving.
Yeah.
So it still failed. So we'll do a clicky pen one more time, try and get that alcohol residue off. And if that doesn't do it, then we'll just replace the SFP card. Still failed. So
it appears like it's in the same exact spot every time. So could there be like something embedded in there?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I got to run out to the truck and grab one real quick. All the same. So with the new one we got it to pass. So we'll save this, and that was our receive side. So if we hold up our SFP to our fiber, that'll be our A side. So this will be S for SFP. And then A side, so A. And that's it. So now we'll move on to our B side. And cool. So that guy passed. So we'll save that. So now that we got that all saved, it's a lot easier to put it all together out here than slide the whole thing together. So we can now insert our fiber into our SFP and plug it all back together. And that's it. And we won't have any optical lights down here until we turn that breaker back on. And once the BBU starts to see a receive signal or a light coming down from the RH, then it will turn on its transmit. The BBU won't transmit if it doesn't have a receive signal. So, and that one was pretty instantaneous. Now we have our TX and RX lights on, so we're transmitting up to the RH and we're receiving the light down. So it should be back on air. So.